The sun rose over the village hills like it always did, warming the narrow paths, the dusty fields, and the quiet farms. Life was busy, and so were the animals. Cows headed to the fields, horses pulled carts, and chickens scurried around their coops. But in one small, shaded stable at the edge of the village, a donkey lay still, eyes half open, ears twitching lazily. His name was Darrow, and everyone knew one thing about Darrow. He was the laziest creature in the entire village. No matter the task, whether carrying wheat, pulling the cart, or even walking a short distance, Darrow would find an excuse to avoid it. "My back hurts," he'd say. "It's too hot. It's too early. Why rush? The world isn't going anywhere." The other animals grew tired of him. The farmer grew frustrated. And even the birds stopped waking him in the morning. Darrow didn't care. He thought the world would wait for him. But what Darrow didn't know was that life doesn't pause for those who refuse to move. It doesn't stop for comfort. It doesn't reward excuses. And one day, when an unexpected storm threatened the entire farm and everyone had to work together to survive, Darrow discovered something he never saw coming. That laziness doesn't protect you. It leaves you behind. And worse, it makes you forget who you could have been. Darrow had become the joke of the village. Not because he was weak, not because he was old, but because he simply didn't try. While the cows woke up before sunrise to plow the fields, and the hens clucked their way through busy mornings laying eggs, Darrow stayed curled in the straw, yawning. When the horses thundered down the paths, pulling carts full of sugarcane, Darrow lazily blinked and muttered, "What's the hurry?" If someone asked him to help carry a basket of fruits, he'd roll his eyes and say, "Do I look like a truck to you?" The farmer who owned Darrow was once patient, believing that maybe the donkey just needed time. But seasons passed, and Darrow never changed. He'd walk slow on purpose, sit when asked to stand, and if pushed too hard, he'd play sick. The children laughed when they saw him pretending to limp in one leg, and then forget which leg it was the next day. "That donkey is smarter than he looks," they said. But deep down, they also knew he was wasting something rare, potential. There was a time when Darrow had dreams too, when he was younger. He watched the village oxen plow deep lines into the earth and admired the way people respected them. He saw the mules carry heavy bags up the mountain roads and earn rewards. But Darrow believed those things were for others, not for him. "Why work so hard?" he told himself, "when I can rest and still get fed?" The farmer still gave him hay, the barn still gave him shade, and no one forced him to do much. It was a perfect life, or so he thought. Then came the storm. No one expected it. The sky turned black one morning, and winds howled through the valley like angry wolves. The river, once calm and blue, rose higher with each hour, threatening to flood the fields. The farmer called every animal for help. Horses were tied to carts to move the grains. Cows helped pull supplies from storage. Even chickens and goats were moved to higher ground. There was chaos, but also unity. Everyone moved, worked, and helped each other, except Darrow. He stood in the stable, pretending not to hear the calls. "They'll manage without me," he said, curling into a ball of comfort. But water doesn't care who's lazy. The river broke its edge by evening, and the muddy floodwater rushed toward the barn. Darrow was trapped. He tried to climb out of the stable, but the water was already ankle-deep and rising fast. Outside, the farmer and other animals were moving toward the hillside, the only safe place. Darrow screamed for help. No one heard him. The rain pounded harder. Fear began to rise in him, not just because of the water, but because of the thought that cut through him sharper than lightning. I had chances. I wasted them. Then something unexpected happened. A goat, barely half his size, ran into the barn, roped around his neck. "Grab it," the goat yelled. "Tie it. We'll pull you." Darrow hesitated. He had always mocked the goat for being restless. "You never sit still," he once said. Now, this goat was saving him. With trembling hooves, Darrow tied the rope. From outside, the oxen and farmer began pulling with all their might. Inch by inch, Darrow was dragged out of the flooding stable and into safety. When he reached the hillside, soaked, shivering, and shaken, no one laughed. No one mocked. But no one clapped either. They were too busy comforting each other, too tired from the day's struggle. Darrow stood there quietly, not just embarrassed, but changed. He realized that in every moment he had chosen rest over effort, excuses over action. He had been walking away from something greater: contribution, community, purpose. He looked at the goat who saved him, at the horses still helping others, and at the cows standing guard over supplies. He wasn't just lazy anymore. He was absent. In every moment where effort could have made a difference, he was missing. And now he felt it. That night, Darrow didn't sleep. He sat awake under the stars, thinking of all the times he had said no when life had offered him a chance to say yes. He remembered how easy it was to avoid the hard path, and how that very comfort nearly drowned him. And as he watched the others rest on their day's work, he whispered to himself, "Tomorrow, I walk first." And the next day, as the sun returned and dried the earth, something unusual happened. Darrow stood up before the rooster crowed. He walked straight to the farmer, bowed his head, and waited. The farmer looked at him in surprise. "You ready?" he asked. Darrow nodded. That day, he carried not just the supplies, but a lesson, a heavy one: the weight of wasted time, missed opportunity, and the silent guilt of having let others down. But with every step he took, that weight began to lift. Because this time, he wasn't running from work. He was catching up with who he was meant to be. Darrow had changed, but the world hadn't yet noticed. He still looked like the same donkey to everyone else, with his drooping ears, tired eyes, and slow walk. But what no one could see was a fire quietly burning inside him now. A fire built not on pride, but purpose. A quiet determination had replaced the loud excuses he once gave. And this time, he wasn't waiting to be asked. He was ready to act. In the days following the storm, the village worked to rebuild. Fences had fallen, food had spoiled, and the roads were coated in thick mud. While others moved with urgency, no one expected Darrow to help. That's what made it so surprising when, early one morning, the farmer walked outside to find Darrow already carrying wooden planks toward the fence. No groaning, no complaint, just silent work. At first, the animals thought it was a one-time effort, a guilty gesture. But day after day, Darrow kept showing up. When the oxen were too tired, Darrow pulled the smaller carts. When the goat fell ill, Darrow carried food to the hills. When no one was watching, he was still working. And in his silent service, something strange began to happen. The animals who once mocked him began admiring him. The farmer who once yelled in frustration now gave quiet nods of respect. And most important of all, Darrow himself, once full of excuses and doubt, began walking taller, with pride not in his past, but in his progress. But it wasn't easy. There were mornings where his old habits whispered to him, "You've done enough, go back to sleep." There were days when others teased him again, "Trying to be a hero now, huh?" And there were moments when his body hurt and his mind wavered. But Darrow had learned something powerful from the flood. Comfort can be a trap, and the only way out is forward. He wasn't racing anyone. He wasn't trying to prove he was better. He was simply trying to be better than the donkey he used to be. That was his race. And every step forward, no matter how slow, was a victory. Then came the harvest festival. It was the biggest day of the year. The fields glowed with golden crops. The children danced, and all the animals were decorated with flowers and colors. That year, the farmer did something he'd never done before. He placed a beautiful, hand-woven garland around Darrow's neck. The crowd clapped, not out of politeness, but with sincere applause. The farmer raised his voice and said, "This year, the hardest worker was not the strongest, not the fastest, but the one who changed the most, the one who turned failure into fuel, the one who didn't just walk, he chose to walk in the right direction." The animals bowed their heads in silent agreement. Darrow stood there, eyes wide, heart full, not because he wanted to be celebrated, but because for the first time in his life, he felt he deserved it. He hadn't just earned the garland. He had earned something far more valuable: respect, redemption, and a reason to keep going. And that's the thing about change. It doesn't happen with one big action. It happens in small, stubborn steps, in the quiet choice to do better, even when no one is watching, even when it's hard, even when your past tries to pull you back. Darrow learned that laziness isn't just about doing nothing. It's about giving up on who you could be. It's about letting fear of effort rob you of the joy of achievement. But effort, no matter how small, is never wasted. Because each act of effort becomes a brick in the bridge to the future you deserve. And even the slowest builder, if they don't stop, will reach the other side. So, what did Darrow really gain? Not gold, not fame, not applause that fades. He gained belief in himself and in the idea that it's never too late to become useful, never too late to grow, never too late to matter. And that is the kind of victory no storm can wash away. Moral of the story: laziness may feel safe today, but it costs you tomorrow. True change begins the moment you stop waiting and start walking, no matter how slow, no matter how late. Because it's not where you start, it's where you decide to go.